Hi, this is Dr. Peter Dobias, and today I would like to teach you about natural approach to treatment of hotspots. Maybe your dog has hotspots, and maybe you know other dogs that have hotspots. And I know many dogs that have been treated for hotspots, and many other dogs that never get the treatment that they deserve or they need. And there are millions of dogs suffering from allergies and hotspots, and quite often hotspots are misperceived. We know that they are, in medical terms, surface skin infection, or we can call them surface pyoderma. And they usually happen by scratching the surface of the skin and bacteria embedding or starting to grow in the area and affecting very dramatically the areas, making the hair fall out and causing inflammation and itching and redness. And hotspots come in many different forms. And I have learned over the years in my holistic veterinary practice that most of them are actually not primary skin disease, and that they're related to other issues in the body and the system. And it's just not allergies; it's other issues that I'm going to tell you about. So, why do we misunderstand hotspots and how they happen? Well, it's really simple. In human history, we've many times we have believed something that was totally wrong, and it's just because of our perception. And we used to perceive that the Earth was flat, and now we know and take for granted that it is actually round. So new discovery cycle usually involves the new ways being ridiculed, and then they're accepted by a few, and then they become common sense, and people take them eventually for granted. So I'm hoping that you will be brave, and you will be one of the first people who are going to adopt these new techniques and methods and share them with others, and help others to be brave, and eventually the information will be making sense to most people, and eventually it'll be taken for granted, which I'm fine with. So today I'd like to give you some tools to treat hotspots and understand them better. So if hotspots are just a symptom, if they're just a signal light, what is the cause? Well, I have learned that energy flow in the body is really, really important in hotspot understanding and also treatment. Quite often, I say that the body is like a garden where there is a watering system, and the watering system has a big hose or a pipe that goes through the garden, through the center of the garden, and then there are the branches that go to the different garden beds. And if there are any hoses or pipes that are either broken or impinged, then the garden or the garden bed is not going to be watered, and the carrots are not going to grow. And our body is the same. The energy line, the big pipe, is going through the center of the body, and center of the body of the dog or human, anybody. And the energy flows from the head to the tail or to the back. And if there are any injuries or any congested spots, in other words, the pipes that are either broken or impinged, then the energy doesn't flow to the garden beds, which in the dog's case are the extremities or the skin or the organs and so on. So this is another example of the spinal channel. You can see that certain spots in the spine relate to certain organs, and they associate to certain organs, and that's where the organs get actually the energy flow. It's almost like an intersection in the energy highway. So let's look at the dog that I presented a few pictures before, and you can see that there are several different hotspots. And what I learned is that many dogs would have spinal energy congestion or maybe even spinal injury and muscle tightness in the area that relates energetically to the skin where the hotspot is. So it's almost like the hotspot is in the garden bed that doesn't get any watering or energy flow. So when I examined various dogs, I realized that it really correlates nicely. So the first thing that you need to do if you have a dog with hotspots, you need to examine the back and see whether there is any pain or discomfort, or your dog twitches the skin. Or if you can recognize it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist, but you may need to go and see either a physiotherapist, chiropractor, or massage therapist, someone who actually understands the body a little more. So once again, the energy lines affect different areas of the body. If you look at the neck, the energy lines flow to the head and also to the front extremities and maybe to the armpit. And then the thoracic spine affects the thoracic skin and the organs like lungs and heart and liver. And the lumbar spine affects the digestion and also the skin of the hind end and the extremities. Now, what happens if, let's say, dog injures the neck, or if he is a puller and there is a constant pressure on the neck and it affects the nerves and the energy lines? Well, the feet actually get affected, and quite often dogs start licking their feet because they have an abnormal sensation, and sometimes they don't even need to lick, but the skin doesn't thrive because energetically it is deprived. This is another good example that I see relatively often, and it is also quite often related to a dog pulling on a leash and having a pressure on the neck. If you just for a moment, if you just take your hands and just encircle your throat and pull back really hard. I'm doing that right now. It feels really awful, doesn't it? And you can see that the energy stagnates in the head and also the blood flow stagnates. And it really creates a lot of energetic abnormalities. So if you have a dog with alopecia around the eyes, the first thing that I would recommend is taking the collar off and putting him or her on a good harness. We have some on our website in the dog boutique. I also see hotspots in areas that pertain to overexercise or strained muscles. You know, if a dog swims excessively or digs excessively, or if dogs retrieve frisbees and balls and they twist and turn or just overwork the muscles, it can actually trigger a whole chain reaction where the skin is going to be depleted energetically again because it overlies the muscle and the segment, and then bacteria will be able to harbor in that particular area more often, or sometimes dogs just scratch the area because they try to massage the sore or tight area, and then when they traumatize the skin, the bacteria will start growing and we have a hot spot. Now, this is another situation. I wouldn't necessarily recommend treating it in a simple way as a hotspot because you can see that this is a general situation. There may be many reasons. Diet, it can be mange, it can be vaccine side effects, it can be hormonal issues, heavy metal buildup, digestive dysfunction, and so on. When it comes to heavy metal buildup and maybe even lack of minerals, we actually do have test that diagnoses and determines the levels of heavy metals in the body and also the minerals that are lacking. So you can supplement the right supplements and make sure that the body has good building blocks. So these are the true causes of hotspot: processed food, neck trauma, overextension from digging and swimming and ball chasing and back injuries, and sometimes nutrition deficiency. And obviously, hotspots are quite often treated with antibiotics and steroids, which ultimately backfires because they only suppress the immune system from reacting but don't really address the other causes that I've listed here. So conventional solutions, that's what I was taught at veterinary school, usually consist of drugs, creams, maybe allergy shots, different relatively invasive methods. If your dog is on drugs, whether they're corticosteroids or antihistamines, antibiotics, ideally the first question should be asked, can we do without? And I know that in most situations we can, but it does take a while because the drugs themselves cause, in a way, drug disease. They pollute the body with toxins, with chemicals that are artificial, and the body has to deal with the condition plus with the drug. So I have been able to create treatments that do not involve chemical drugs, and ultimately I only use about 5% of overall prescription drugs in my practice, and maybe not even that. But once every while we need them as a crutch. I usually try to avoid them as often as possible. So what is the treatment cycle for hotspots? First, I usually treat them locally because you have to release and soothe the skin. I clip the hair off the area and make sure that you give it a good margin. And then if it's really scabby and wet and crusty, try to soak all the scabs off. And I mean all the scabs off, peel them off, take them off, and then dry them with a piece of sterile gauze. Then what you spray healing solution on the surface of the skin, and you repeat it several times a day, whether it's 3 to 5 times. And if it's really severe, you can also apply a compress and bandage it to the dog's body, and that will help as well. The kind of continuous infusion sometimes helps. I always recommend seeing either physiotherapist, chiropractor, or someone who can treat the neck and back. The popular treatments in my practice are intramuscular needle stimulation, where you actually take acupuncture needles and release the muscles along the spine. The person that does this treatment has to be obviously knowledgeable of the treatment, and it is called IMS, or intramuscular stimulation. Chiropractic treatment is another method of releasing the muscles. Sometimes homeopathic remedies do as well, and I use them in conjunction. And then obviously we have to get the right leash. I don't like leashes that are extension, or the retractable leashes, because they really create this tension on the spring, and also when your dog reaches the end of the leash, there's usually a jerk or adjustment. The dog suddenly stops, and it can be really harmful to the neck. So I like spring protected leashes, or leashes that have a natural spring. I love the handmade woolen leashes that we have on our website. I found them some time ago when I was traveling to the close by island here, and I love them. I can't take any other leash because they're woolen, they're handmade, they're affordable, they're light, and they have this natural spring. Now, front anchor or front attachment harness is really important. I have gone through many different harnesses. The harness that I like the most is called Walk and Sync, and you can also see them on our website. I've talked about chiro, physio, and IMS, and obviously proper exercise. I'm not saying that you should prevent your dog from ball retrieving or swimming or all that, but be mindful and don't do it for half an hour or an hour every day, because that's one-sided exercise, and people don't realize that dogs haven't been really built for that kind of one-sided exercise. In the natural conditions, they would chase the bunny or the bird or the mouse for a few seconds, but they wouldn't be sprinting back and forth for half an hour. So the other really important part in treatment of hotspot is to clear the toxins from the body. Make sure that the body is not full of garbage. Obviously, if your dog's body looks like this cabinet, it probably will not be in the best shape. And sometimes the overburdened immune system is actually a problem. There can be food issues. I recommend all natural food. Nature hasn't intended us to put food in the bag and let it sit on the shelf for 6 to 12 months or even longer, and put preservatives and chemicals in it and then feed it. That is actually another burden for the immune system. And when it comes to hotspots, immune system is really important because it contains the bacteria, it prevents it from happening. There can be deficiencies, there can be stress. All that is actually related to possible factors that play a role in hotspots formation. And I would never underestimate the stress in your life, because if there is a lot of stress in your life, your dog may actually reflect it and tighten up, and his back may be a problem. So healing solution is one of the ways of looking at hotspot treatment. It is all natural formula. We've been using it for many years now, and we get great feedback. I'm very grateful for healing solution. I formulated on the basis of a recipe that my grandfather has taught me and given me, and it's been a godsend. I've had people using it for their dogs. I've had people using it for surgical incisions for themselves, brain surgeries, different issues that are right here and in veterinary practice every day. And one thing I wanted to say, that sometimes people believe that hydrogen peroxide or hibitane soap, which is chlorhexidine, should be used on wounds. And I have learned that hydrogen peroxide actually kills the cells that are supposed to heal. So if you put it on the wound, it actually releases oxygen through enzyme called peroxidase, and the cells are basically they burst, they're burnt, and you create the margin of cells that are really dead, and they can't really heal, so there is more scarring. When it comes to chlorhexidine, I learned that it does actually slow down the healing, and it also is toxic and it's carcinogenic. So if you look at medical safety data sheets, you will see that those products are actually quite toxic, and they do absorb in the system. And if you have something more natural like healing solution, obviously we don't need to go to chemicals. Um, I'm just going to repeat the spinal work in treatment of hotspot is really important. There are a few methods here that I recommend, and supplements. If you go on my site, you'll see that there are a few basic supplements, few essential supplements. I really believe that mineral supplementation is one of the most important parts of healthy body and maintaining good and healthy long life. If you have a garden, once again, we'll go to the garden. You know that it has to be fertilized. There have to be all the minerals and elements. Otherwise, the carrots or the lettuces don't grow. And we expect somehow our body live off water. And unfortunately, food these days is really depleted because we've been using and abusing soils for a long time. And no matter whether the food is organic or not, it still is depleted because the nutrients don't get replenished right back in the soil where they're taken from. So, one more thing, I do like to use natural anti-inflammatory in situations of severe hotspots or severe back pain or back inflammation. And we have been using Zyflament, which is one of the human products. Right now, it is the, in my opinion, the most effective herbal anti-inflammatory on the market, and it's clinically tested. So by doing all this, not only that you'll be able to help hotspots and prevent them from happening in the future, by supplementing your dog's food and feeding him or her all natural, ideally raw food, and doing doing the regular tune-ups and detox and also maintenance when it comes to chiropractics or physiotherapy, and making sure that your dog's body is in a good shape, you'll be able to add extra 2 to 5 years of life on average. Obviously, there is no guarantee, but this is what I've been seeing in my practice. The dogs that are in their early teens, they look like dogs that are 7, 6 years old, and that's so amazing. And I'm very grateful to be able to share this information with you. And hopefully, we'll be able to see at our other recordings, at webinars, and check out our website and check out the blogs, because there is tons of information that can help you create healthy and long life naturally. Have a nice day, and take care.